Saga Cigars, makers of the Saga Golden Age. The Golden Age is a cigar that takes you back to the classic days of cigar smoking. Through the 6 generations of experience by the Reyes family, Saga Golden Age delivers a timeless blend that uses the nobility of the tobacco to bring you the perfect balance of power and flavor. It narrates better than words the history of a family's tradition in tobacco, delivering a cigar much like the ones they used to smoke in the times of Hemingway. Saga Golden Age is a full-bodied, full-flavored Dominican Puro. With tobaccos from one farm, the blend features a Corojo 2006 wrapper and filler from original Cuban seeds grown in the Dominican Republic. Available in 4 sizes at an affordable price, the Saga Golden Age is sure to please and take you back on a journey to yesteryear. Rocky Patel Premium Cigars, the Tabaquero, developed and blended by Cuban master of tobacco, Hamlet Paredes. This cigar is an exciting addition to the Patel family, featuring traditional and rare sizes, handpicked by Hamlet himself. Smoke Hamlet Paredes today. For more information, visit them on the web at rockypatel.com, and be sure to follow Rocky Patel Premium Cigars on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
When we review or report on something, we don't want there to be any guesswork. We believe the information must be accurate, and it has to be reliable. For what we review, the goal is hopefully to educate our audience, and at the same time, an equally important goal is in turn to get educated ourselves. What we want to do is earn the trust of our audience, and to do that, we ensure what we report is accurate, rumor-free, and teaser-free. The premium cigar industry is so dynamic, and every day brings something new. We wanted Cigar Coop to be an extension of that experience, so it has to be 365 days a year. We wanted to create a true media ecosystem and integrate Cigar Coop with the power of our Stogie Geeks programming network.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geeks show. This is our Stogies of the Week segment. I'm told that I think all of us here on the panel today, myself, Will Cooper, and Stace, have smoked the El Huehuense Lancero. Now, I smoked both the Lancero and the short Lancero, and I smoked 2 of each of these cigars to give it a fair review. Got them at Mr. J. Savannah Smoke Shop. I think I liked them both. I don't know how you guys weighed in on this one, but I thought it was a great offering from Nick Melillo at Foundation Cigar Company, actually.
I thought the Lancero was very good, and I wouldn't put it quite up with the Churchill, which I still think is the best size that he's done it is, but it was a very good offering.
I smoked the Churchill and the Toro. Have not had the Lancero yet, but okay. I agree the Churchill was where it was at for me.
Yeah, I think the Churchill for me, to kind of do a comparison in the line, presented the most flavor. I'd say second to that, for me, was probably the Lancero.
Agree totally on that.
What I loved about the Lancero was it was something that like I could take down for breakfast. My guess, and Nick will probably correct me, and I'll probably be wrong, but my guess is to get it in that Lancero format, he took out some of the leaves that contribute to a little bit of the strength of that cigar. I found the Lancero to be really kind of like mild to medium. Like I could take it down with coffee in the morning without a problem in that full Lancero format. And again, I mean, Nick is probably going to correct me. He knows way more about tobacco and cigars than I do, and it's his blend, so he is the authority on this subject. However, having smoked some of his cigars, I would smoke the Churchill a little later in the day and any of his other offerings. That Lancero was really dialed back for me, which is why I really liked it. Because it was so versatile, I could smoke it in the morning, I could smoke it in the afternoon. You know, I think I smoked 2 of the ones in review in like different times, and one of them was in the morning. The short Churchill for me, I don't know if you guys smoked that short Churchill yet from in the El Huehuense brand.
I have not.
That one packed a lot more punch. It was interesting. It was good, but it had this intensity that I thought kind of took away some of the nuances that you get from the Lancero or the Churchill. So
was that more like a Corona Gorda? That's short Churchill.
Yeah,
I think it was
short Lancero. It was more like a Corona. Yeah, well, was more like a petite Lancero, I think, than anything else, to be honest with you. I would definitely call the Lancero box-worthy, in my opinion. And the short Lancero, in my opinion, was a 5er. I think the Churchill, for me, is probably bordering on Chuck Norris at this point, just because I've smoked probably 5 of those since they came out, and just been really super impressed by the Churchill. So that's kind of where the line falls for me, which is a really resounding endorsement for the El Wednesday blend from Nick Melillo.
I didn't quite get the mildness you're talking about off the Lancero, but it was dialed back. I kind of still had it more medium, like on a scale of 1 to 10 for body and
yeah. I mean, I would call it
5.
medium. Yeah.
Yeah. I had it as a box split, which is still very good with that. It was, what I would say is I definitely gave a different profile of the El Wednesday that, I liked what it brought to the table. The packaging is really cool on that too. I don't know if you've seen the box.
It did, yeah. It's very artsy packaging on these Lancero and short Lancero formats. I do agree. I will say what I liked about the Lancero as well was how easy it smoked. Like, it didn't smoke like a Lancero that you really had to kind of slow down to smoke and pay attention to and make sure it's lit and make sure it didn't get too hot. Like, it was a really easy smoking Lancero, which I think contributed to my rating and why it was so high in my opinion. Very easy smoking Lancero. Like, I would light with this up in the car. I would light with this up any time of day. Those are really great. Like, it was just very well done by Nick. So.
Yeah. You know, it was interesting. I was when I was up in New Jersey, I did go to one cigar shop. It was Stogies, which is the place that Jose Blanco would always hang out when he was in New Jersey. I actually smoked a Tabernacle that night. That thing is a very strong.
That's the really dark wrapper from Nick.
Yeah.
Now, I've held off. I'm glad you mentioned that, Will. I did smoke one, and I held off on reviewing it because I thought it needed more time. I think it's a very good. I think it's a very good blend. I'm holding back on it's a not available rating right now here in the Stogie Geeks because I'm holding off. It needs some time to rest in my humidor, in my opinion. I thought these El Wednesdays in both the Lancero and short Lancero, ready to smoke right now. That Tabernacle, by all means, go buy some, but let them rest in your humidor for a while before you smoke them. I mean, I bought them right off the truck, and I smoked one, and I was like, you know what? I got to be... And it's not just because it's Nick, and I love Nick. I mean, I love a lot of people in the cigar... I love probably all people in the cigar industry. I can't think of anyone I don't like, right? But when I give everyone a fair chance, and when I smoke something like that, I'm like... I see the potential. It definitely needs time to rest, which is a little too wet. I thought another cigar that fell in that category for me was the Dusk by E.P. Carrillo. I picked up a couple of each size in that Dusk. I think it just needs time to rest. And that's all I'll say about that cigar. I just think it needs time to rest. And I picked them all up at the same time. And I was kind of picking my way through them. And I smoked one Tabernacle, one Dusk. I put that, because it's been a few weeks since I've been on the show, so I smoked a lot of cigars. And those are ones that I'll come back to in a future show. I want to give those at least a month or more to rest in my humidor before I give my review on them, because I just thought they were too wet at the time. And those are really dark wrappers on both of those, right?
We're getting into the drier season, yeah.
Yeah, and so probably less time for them to acclimate in my humidor and kind of dry out a little bit. I just thought they were too soon to review, in my opinion.
Yep.
Have you guys smoked the Dusk yet?
I've smoked the Dusk. Agree completely on that. And the Tabernacle, I also agree 100%. Now, the Tabernacle I smoked at Sanya's was a Toro size, and it was the best one I've had so far. I could see it's coming around. It's a powerhouse, that cigar.
It is a powerhouse, yes.
Wow, compared to El Wednesday, this is full strength, full bodied, that cigar. It's
and it looks like it too. I mean, it's got that harsh, it just really harsh, dark wrapper. It speaks volumes.
Yeah, it's very different than me. I mean, everyone's comparing it to Mi Querida. They're different. There's nothing in common with those.
Nothing in common. Nope. Completely, I agree. And I've smoked a ton. I tell you what, that Onco Largo and the Mi Querida, is really one of my favorite cigars to come out this year. Not to give anyone's kind of hint into my list, but I tell you what, that Mi Querida in the Onco Largo size, absolutely fantastic. What's also fantastic is I'm on my second so far of this Padron 90th in the tubo. What's interesting in this tubo is it comes in the tubo, and then it's in cellophane in the tubo, and I'm smoking my second natural, and these are not box pressed. So there's a lot of cool things Padron related, right? Like there's a cigar in a tube, which have we ever seen from Padron before now?
First time
for a tubo. They did it different, and they put the cigar in cellophane in the tubo, which I thought was pretty cool. And it's not a box press. Now, it's not their first non-box press cigar, but certainly in the 26 series, is it their first Parejo cigar, not box pressed?
Correct. Yep.
And I tell you what, it's natural. As I could see myself smoking a lot more of these, a lot more, even at that price point of $30-something. I may, it's going to eat into my budget when smoking these. Let me tell you, this cigar is freaking awesome. Wow. I mean, it's got that little bit of spice you expect from that natural wrapper. Not as much spice from some of the other natural wrapper cigars from Padron. Just all about flavor and sweetness. And I am enjoying this immensely. This is really good. Really good.
There are, I think we've talked about, there are some square tubes that were introduced to Europe with 2 new sizes.
I'd love to get my hands on some of those.
I believe those are in the 64 line, but those haven't hit the U.S. from anywhere I've seen yet.
We're going to talk more about some Padrones that I've been smoking, but first I want to take it back to you, Will and Stace, and see what else you guys have been smoking.
Yeah. All right, so this time of year, what I like to do is I reach back for the holidays, and I look at sticks that are special to me, and they don't have to be special from the uber limited, there's only a couple thousand boxes made or anything like that. It's just sticks that really identify with my palate. Mm-hmm. And there's one that I've smoked, probably since meeting Brian Chinook. It's the Terroir from Chinook Cellars. And Paul, you were saying earlier in the show that you really like Connecticut's. This is an Ecuadorian deflorado wrapper. They use a double binder, a double Ecuadorian binder, and then they mix it with Dominican and Nica fillers. It's made out of El Titan de Browns. It's one of the last projects that Willie did before he left and went to Drew Estate. It's a 6x54 Toro. Retails for about $12 a stick. What I like about it is it's not overly complex in terms of changes, but it is so smooth, it is so creamy, it is so rich, and the construction, it's a flawless burn, it's an effortless draw. I really, really like that cigar. Well, I know you knew that I liked that. Paul, I don't know, have you smoked that? Do you like that?
I did. I like that. I have smoked it, and it is a very good cigar.
Yeah, just so you know, Paul, I know we've had Brian on the show a few times. Stace actually gave me the introduction to Brian several years ago, so he's the guy who actually turned me on to these cigars, yeah.
One of the things about the line that I like is, not to take anything away from the other cigars, but when you look at Willie at El Titan de Bronze, when you look at him working with the deflorado wrapper and the fillers that he's used, this Terroir, it has similar principles to what Bill Paley and La Polina did with the Goldie that came out of that same factory. And it also, someone else took it and used a different, obviously tweaked the blend a bit, but used a different size, and that's the warped La Colmena.
Yep.
So those are 3 cigars that are very, very similar in terms of the tobaccos that they use. But the way that they get the flavors to come out of the different sizes, it really is, I tell you, the people down in Florida are just killing it with those 3 blends.
Yeah, and Brian was really, the Desperado wrapper was the first one I saw him use that on.
Yep.
I mean, that's the first time I saw that wrapper, and others have followed after that, yeah.
And I don't, I'm learning your ratings. I would consider it box worthy. It only comes in 10-count boxes, retails for 10 apiece, so you're looking at about $20 for 10 sticks. Definitely box worthy for me.
I've got some very pointed reviews that I did. I smoked the Padron 1964 Anniversary Bellicoso. This is the new size, not to be confused with the Torpedo. This is the Bellicoso. It's a little shorter, I do have the size.
This was the one that was the TAA cigar a couple of years ago.
It was.
That they brought now at the show. They introduced it as a regular offering.
What is the size on the? It's shorter than the Torpedo. It's like a short Bellicoso.
Yeah, did you smoke the, it's shorter, yeah. Did you smoke the natural or the Maduro?
I smoked 2 of each. Like, poor me, right? I had to smoke 2 of each for this review. It was absolutely torture. It was really good. I had to smoke 2 of each, see which one I liked better. And I did purchase 2 of each. They were both so good.
They're 5x50. They're 5x52s.
5x52s.
Yeah.
The natural just has an awesome sweetness. The Maduro for me ended up being a little too much on like the earthy side. Little bit of like, I don't want to say harshness, but it was just like a little too meaty and earthy for me. I like the natural better. I think the natural is a box-worthy cigar for me, and the Maduro is a 5er in this particular size. And it's kind of interesting. I'm going to talk about a different size next, where the complete opposite, to be honest with you. This one for me was natural, like hands down. And I don't want to downplay the Maduro. Like, it probably could have used a little bit of time, in my estimation. It didn't smoke like a classic 1926 Maduro. It lacked a little bit of that smoothness. The natural, I don't know, it just like didn't need as much time to rest, I guess, would be my estimation. It had a little bit of, a nice spice up front, but just had this natural tobacco sweetness that was just awesome, and I really enjoyed both of them, so I would totally buy a box. And I tell you what, the 1964 Naturals have really been impressing me lately in a lot of different sizes, and you kind of smoke your way through to see which ones you like. They're obviously very different, Natural Maduro. In this new size, my pick would be the Natural.
2 years ago, Stace and I were at the Padron dinner, and they gave out the TAA Bellicoso Maduro, which at the time, when I had smoked it earlier in the year, I loved it. But when we had it at the dinner, it was more along the lines of what you said. I was wondering if the thing aged out already, because we've talked sometimes about how certain Padrones don't age as well. And I was actually wondering if the cigar actually has aged out, believe it or not. Strange thing to say, but yeah.
I don't think it to me, it tasted like it could have used more age. And again, these just came into I bought all these at Mr. J's, I think. They were carrying all this stuff now. And the Maduro, to me, tasted like it could have used a little more time to smooth out. Maybe that earthiness won't be as present. And a little more of that nice Maduro, like dark cherry sweetness would have come through. Didn't get a ton of that. The Natural was all about like that nice balance of spice and sweetness. And it hit the mark for me. So I would go buy more of that Natural in the new Bellicoso size.
I agree with you on the Natural, though.
Yeah.
It was a home run when that came out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
The TAA was special when it was in that Natural line.
Yeah, a lot of the TAA releases I've been critical of, but those, especially those Padrones I thought were both good. I thought they were both good additions. I'm glad they brought them in as regular cigars, too.
Yeah, me too. Back to you guys. What else have you been smoking?
Right. So, Paul, I got one that we were kind of talking about this with Omar, and I didn't want to derail the segment too much, but we were talking about Connecticut's that basically are ones that are, completely out of whack in terms of what you would smoke. So we've talked about those ones that are in that mild to medium range. So I smoked this Connecticut this past week, and the first thing I said is, I don't think Paul's going to like this cigar. But I do want you to smoke it. It's Casa Fernandez's Aganorsa Leaf Tabsa, Connecticut. It's significant because Casa Fernandez is a factory that has not worked with Connecticut shade cigars hardly ever until this past year. So I knew that Paul Palmer was playing with this stuff for a couple of years. I know he was trying to get it right. So he came out with this box press Connecticut line. It's called the Tabsa, which is named after Aganorsa Leaf, named after their tobacco. Tabsa, named after their factory. And it's a Connecticut shade over the Aganorsa tobacco. This was a 6x52 box press. This cigar is basically everything that you wouldn't expect a Connecticut to be. It's full body. This thing's going to become a full-bodied cigar, and the strength level is, especially in that second half, it starts kicking up quite a bit towards full. I had also smoked this at the trade show, but I know I got some of them, and I really, again, if you're going to try to remember, Paul, when we talked about pickle juice?
Yeah.
And you had a very interesting point about pickle juice. Nothing wrong with pickle juice, but it wasn't a Candela. It wasn't a traditional Candela. And I think with this cigar, you have to look at it. It's not a traditional Connecticut shade cigar. It's going to be much fuller. It's going to have some weight on the palate. It's going to have some strength, but it does have very good. I did like the flavors that came out of this thing. There's a nice fruit note that's in there. There's a cedary note in there. There is some of the creamy notes, right? But it's not going to be a super creamy cigar. And there's going to be some black pepper on this cigar too. I really like this cigar a lot. I am a little bit biased when it comes to Casa Fernandez. I love their stuff, but this is a box-worthy cigar in my opinion. But I would say, Paul, this is not a cigar I'd put into your normal Connecticut rotation either.
What's the retail on that?
Retail is very reasonable, $7.
Wow!
So they've got a good price point with this cigar.
Yeah, I think reasonably priced Connecticut's that appeal to a wide variety of smokers are where it's at with Connecticut's right now. It's not. I'm hypercritical of Connecticut's, but I think manufacturers such as Casa Fernandez are probably going to do really well with this line if they can offer something different in that Connecticut offering at a reasonable price point. That should be something that people should try. Don't always go by my palate, which tends to be kind of hypercritical.
Right, and here's what I'll say. I've been very critical of those Connecticut's that have tried to push it up towards the full level.
Yeah.
Most of them have not worked. This is the first one I felt that worked.
Nice.
And I actually saw the Half Wheel guy gave it a very high review too, which kind of was surprising because usually we're on total opposite pages. But I think with this one, and I kind of read what they wrote, we were very similar in terms of the experience with that.
You've got to try it.
Yeah, I think you got to try it. I definitely would say, especially if you're not a Connecticut smoker, give this cigar a try because and there's been other Connecticut's that have been done too. Dion did the Rothschild Connecticut's this year out of Casa Fernandez. So there's been Warped's done they've done a Connecticut out of Casa Fernandez now.
Yep.
So there are other ones out there, but this one's I think going to be the surprise to people. It's very different.
This next cigar is very, very interesting to me. It's one that I alluded to during our interview with Omar. And this is 6 1/8 by 55, and it is just the most gorgeous cigar you've ever laid your eyes on in your entire life. I mean, the wrapper is impeccable. And I tell you what, the way that it smokes is absolutely, amazing. I mean, it's just perfect draw, burn, construction, the perfect amount of smoke. It's a beautiful-looking cigar, burns perfect all the way through. And so, for all those reasons, I should have really loved this cigar, except that I didn't. And I took it out of the cellophane, and I sniffed the wrapper, and I sniffed the foot, and I got this minty, herbal aroma. And the best way I could describe it is like an after-dinner mint that's covered in grass clippings. So just kind of take a moment. Picture that in your mind. Let that go through your senses for a moment. The flavor on the smoke. I'm like, well, yeah, a lot of times, you smell some weird things on the cigar. Smells like barnyard, right? Whatever. And when you smoke it, it's different. When I lit the cigar up, it was pretty much an after-dinner mint that was covered in grass clippings. And so I smoked through it, and it pretty much tasted that same...
I know a cigar. You told me
kind
about
of thing.
This cigar.
Yeah. So this is the Atabey Ritos S. Again, 6 1/8 by 55 cigar. This was a gift from the representative that's representing. What does they call the company? Is it
Selected Tobacco?
United Cigars.
United Cigars and the company that makes it. Selected Tobacco.
Selected Tobacco.
Yeah.
And the blender guy, what's his name? He's awesome. He makes great cigars, by the way.
Oh, it's It's Nelson Alfonso.
Nelson Alfonso, wonderful, wonderful man from everything I've heard. Fantastic cigars. I know Dave Garofalo has, distributing these and spoken highly of them, sent us samples, and I've loved them. This one, again, a fantastic, all of the things in reviewing cigars were like, I should love the cigar. I just didn't love the flavor profile at all. Like, I did not. Talk about polarizing cigars. Like, it sounds kind of like Captain Obvious, is if you love the flavor profile in the cigar, you're gonna love the cigar, and you're gonna want to buy them, a lot of them. Even at $33, you're gonna want to buy a lot of them if you love the flavor profile. I just did not like the flavor profile in this cigar at all. And it's interesting, neither did some of the people who were around me. Even when I took it out of the cellophane, the flavor that came from this, the aroma, I let some people smell it. They're like, you could almost like smell it if you're sitting next to someone and you take it out of the cellophane. You can almost get like that minty kind of herbalness from it, and it's very, very polarizing in that flavor profile. I did not get into that flavor profile, and those that have known me and reviewed cigars know that I love the Avo and the Davidoffs that have that kind of herbally profile. This was a very distinct herbally profile that just the flavor it was not for me. Hey, some people like certain kinds of food that have a particular profile, and some people don't. This falls for me like with Indian food. I don't like Indian food. I tough my way through it, and I find some stuff that I like, and it's okay. But this was like the Indian food that I don't like. That was this cigar. And I feel bad because I've smoked cigars from Nelson Alfonso before and absolutely loved them and giving them like almost like Oasis rating. So I was really excited to smoke this cigar. But the flavor profile that in this one is extremely polarizing. So my recommendation is a try one. At $33, that's a tough recommendation to try one. I don't know what you need to do to make sure that you're going to like this flavor profile. Maybe you smell the cigar, and if that aroma is pleasing to your palate, you're going to love this cigar. You're going to love this cigar because everything else about it is absolute perfection. Like I said, it looks awesome. The burn draw and construction, smoke, everything is awesome about this cigar. It's just a very polarizing flavor profile for you. So
two comments on that. I've smoked other sizes, and we talk a lot on the shows. The size matters.
Yeah.
So this is, maybe it wasn't this size. I know you smoked database and like them a lot, and sometimes a size isn't going to be one that is going to work out. The second point is, you weren't here last week. I talked about the Davidoff Royal Release Robusto, the $80 cigar. And by all, this is where a Stogie Geeks system is a little different. On merit, that cigar is probably one of the top 3 Davidoffs I've ever had. But it was a try one at an $80 price point.
Yeah.
So, again, because, when you start getting into these cigars and now pushing past $25, it's very hard to make a multi-cigar or box recommendation, especially if there's a certain profile that cigar is going to have. So I wouldn't view that necessarily as a bad thing. You're kind of saying this wasn't for me, but in general, I can tell you people who like that profile. So
yeah. And those that like that profile, man, like you're in a treat for yourself. Like that's going to be an awesome cigar for you.
Something that doesn't click.
It just wasn't. It just was not for me. It was smooth and balanced and all that stuff. It was just those flavors just didn't. And like when I lit it up, I think at next door, the Havana Cigar Club, and there was a member, and Brenda was next door, and they were in my camp. They were like, that smells like weird. Like it just smelled weird to them, And I could have sworn that it was infused. I was told that it is not an infused cigar.
No, it's not.
But that's how polarizing the flavor profile was, that you could mistake this for an infused cigar. And if they're getting that flavor out of natural tobacco with no infusion, that's a pretty amazing feat in and of itself. But very, very distinct flavor profile for the cigar. Now, what's the other one that is the Byron?
The Byron.
Yep, that's a great set.
Byron's awesome. Yeah, and it's not polarizing like this in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And like I said, we've smoked a lot of these different cigars, and they're absolutely fan. They're some of the most underrated and best cigars on the market. which is kind of like, for me, why I was kind of disappointed. Like, I really wanted to love this cigar, but just didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the other sticks that I gravitate towards this time of year, it's one of the ones that I probably should smoke more, but with so many new releases, you have these certain loves that you kind of forget, right? You kind of have them in the humidor, you kind of forget about them, and then it's like, oh my gosh, forgot, go back. This is one that I always make sure that I hit on during the holiday seasons. It's a stick that has been out for ever and a day. There are, I think, 12 different sizes, 10 different sizes, and then a couple of retail exclusives. It's the cigar that Pepin defined that Pepin Pepper Blast with. It's full on, full body. There's nothing shy about the cigar. He's mastered an all Nicaraguan Puro with a Corojo wrapper and Criollo binder, and then Nicaraguan filler. So it's Nicaraguan Puro. Retails between $8 and $10. I'm talking about the Pepin Blue Label, Don Pepin Garcia Blue Label. For me, the size, even though I like smaller ring gauges, the size that does it for me here is the Generoso. It's the 6x50 Toro. That's the one that I just really, really like. The Robusto is also nice. Like I said, they've got 10 different sizes. So if Toro and Robusto is not it for you, there's 8 others to choose from. Just a really great cigar. And with all that Pepin does, I find myself forgetting about the Blue Label and then coming back to it this time of year.
Nice.
The Blue Label is... So, there's been some changes with some of the Pepin cigars. There's no question about it. But the Blue Label, I think, of all, they've had some, they've reblended some of their cigars. That's
and they moved the factory.
Moved factory, yeah. They're growing more of their own tobacco. But I think Blue Label, of all those the changes that happened, they kept that one. They really kept that one to what that cigar was. So I would definitely agree with. And I do like that Generoso side, that Toro as well.
Yeah.
I reached back into my humidor for a Davidoff cigar. And it was interesting. This was a Thanksgiving smoke for me. This was a post-Thanksgiving dinner smoke for me, which is a very important cigar choice for a lot of us Stogie Geeks out there. And a lot of us listening you thought a lot about what you were going to smoke after Thanksgiving dinner. For me, much of what weighed into my decision was time. I wanted to smoke something kind of small, kind of short, mostly because it was going to be pretty cold here on Thanksgiving. And sometimes we get a warmer Thanksgiving than others. This one was pretty cold Thanksgiving. I reached for a Davidoff Puro de Oro Gorditos. I wasn't a huge fan when this blend came out. I thought it was good. I thought it was a little overpriced. However, a couple of years in the humidor, and I really love this stick. Maybe not this size, although this size was really good. Just tons of flavor and this nice, rich and toasty feel with some sweetness really made this blend come together. I think it just needed to rest in my humidor for a while. The size is not one that I would reach for. It's like a 3.5 by 58 or something like that. Is that the Gordito size, Will?
It's a short, stubby cigar.
Yeah, it's like a 3.5 by 58 or something like that. I think I would call this a 5er, and that's really based on the size and the price, as these are pretty high price tag. I'd probably reach for a different size. I will say that the 5er really speaks to buy 5 of these and let these rest in your humidor for some time, like a couple of years. And I think you're going to be happy with 5 of them. I can't really go to Boxworthy, although it really was an awesome smoke. And I thought a great choice for Thanksgiving when it was a little chilly to reach for this size. But that really nice toastiness and sweetness really did it for me.
Nice.
Have you guys smoked this recently? The Puro de Oro? It doesn't get a lot of play from the Davidoff line. I feel like it's like the bastard stepchild of Davidoff.
Yeah, and they've discontinued the line. The Notables was it for me.
Was that the Petit Corona?
Yeah, it's a Corona Gorda. It was like 5 5/8 by 46. Yeah, that was it. And I've smoked the smaller Gordito as well, which is also great. I don't think they had a size that was really bad, but for me, I just really, really like the Notables. And scratching my head because when Henke was in town last year, when he asked what's your favorite cigar that we make, and I told him straight up the Notables, and I said I just don't understand why they discontinued that. It had to have something to do with more packaging than anything, either that or maybe they're just not able to source the tobacco. But I was shocked when they said that they were pulling that.
Well,
Yeah,
I think it could be sales too. I mean, I don't, Stace. I think you're in the minority of people I've talked with that said, that's my favorite Davidoff, or that's one of my favorite Davidoffs. So,
I think with that cigar, they had some packaging issues. They originally were unbanded.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then they had the one at the foot. Right.
And I think if they had just went with a Davidoff gold band, like they did, like they have a black band on
the Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have helped a lot. I think, when you get into a cigar at that price point, it needs to have an identity. So I think that kind of, when you see an unbanded cigar in a premium price range, remember the CLE signatures?
I do.
Yeah. Great cigars.
Yeah. Awesome cigar.
Christian wouldn't put a band on it at first. He finally did. But that cigar was tough. Yeah, tough sell though, because.
I agree. What about you, Will? You got more that you smoked?
Yeah, so this is one by Steve Saka. Everyone knows Silver Mesa. Stace actually worked for Steve too. He actually worked for him at the booth at IPCB Artists. So Stace really knows Steve's line extremely well. I don't think he smoked this one lately though, and that is the Silver Mesa Short Churchill. Now,
I haven't smoked it since the show, honestly,
and I think he should. This is more like a Rothschild. It's a 4 3/4 by 48. He's calling this cigar he's actually got a name. I just lost my note here on that. He is calling this Poco Mas Intensa, meaning it's a little stronger.
Is that really a 38, Will? I got the package that Steve sent me.
I had to hit the cough button. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I got the package that Steve sent me, and that doesn't seem to me like it's a 38.
48.
ringgit.
It's a 48. It's a 48.
Okay, 48. That makes more sense. Thank you. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So it's more like a Rothschild.
Yeah. I smoke one today, but go ahead.
So it's got a little more strength. It's got a little more strength and body than Silver Mesa. So I'd put this one closer to a medium to full. Is what you're gonna get up this. This is one that Steve he made this cigar as his replacement for his Dirty Rats.
That is correct.
Because not that this is a dirty rat, but he likes to have a smaller cigar every day. And
coffee in the morning.
With coffee in the morning, and he ran out of his supply of Dirty Rats, or he's running low on them.
He's running low, yeah.
So he figured
that means he has like 15 boxes left.
Right. He's got
or thereabouts, right?
Yeah, I'm sure he's got plenty. But I smoked for a lot of these, and I actually was smoking these up in when I was up in New York, and where I was smoking in a hotel at night, as well as in the morning. I smoked one to see. I really, really like this cigar. I thought it had. It started out with some more cocoa notes. It develops into more of a cocoa nut flavor. It's and then towards the end, you're going to get a little more of a spicy kick on it. I don't think it's as complex as some of the other sizes of Silver Mesa. I don't think it's as refined as some of the other sizes of Silver Mesa. But I see what Steve was going for with this cigar. And I really, really enjoyed this cigar. And I think if someone gave Silver Mesa a try and they said, well, it's a little more dialed back than I was looking for, a little more refined than I'm looking for, I think that the Short Churchill is a great, great alternative. I don't know if it's necessarily better than Cervantes Fino or the El Americano, which I know you like the El Americano. Yeah. But I really like this cigar. And I give it a box worthy on this. I kept wanting to go back and smoke this cigar.
I agree with your assessment of the kind of where it fits in the Silver Mesa line, that it's a stronger offering, a little more like not as complex as some of the other offerings.
Yeah.
For me, I just don't. I applaud what Steve's done with Silver Mesa. For me, it's like a $5 across. For me personally, it's like a kind of a $5 across the line for me. Like it's a good blend. I just wouldn't see myself smoking it like more than having a $5 and smoking one every once in a while. And that's not a knock on what Steve is doing by any stretch of the imagination. A $5 is not a bad rating, but for me personally, I've smoked across that whole line, and it's a $5 for me no matter what size I smoke, when I smoke, and I smoked quite a few of them. And followed Steve's directions in smoking, like let them rest and the whole thing, and smoking different sizes. However, when you get to the Mi Quesarita, I say that right?
Mi Carita.
Mi Carita. I always get that wrong. Mi Carita. Like I'd smoke that blend so much more, and I smoke that in a bunch of sizes. And there's at least one or two that are at least box worthy. Probably that Uncle Largo is probably a Chuck Norris. Like I would just stock box it, like the way Steve stockpiles cigars that he likes. Like I would stockpile that Uncle Largo and the Mi Carita all day long, because I think that's just a versatile, wonderful cigar to smoke. Really hits my flavor profile. Again, I think so. I think a lot of people are going to like Sober Mesa a lot better than I do, and I get that. For me, it was and I smoked one the size that you smoked and reviewed, Will. I smoked one today, and I was like, well, maybe I like this size a little better. Get up to box worthy or fight Chuck Norris, and I'm like, it's still a $5 for me in that blend. That's just the flavor profile doesn't bring it above that rating scale for me. However, the Mi Carita is something that I feel like Steve blended for me. I'm like, thank you, Steve. You blended a cigar just for me. That's awesome. Like that Uncle Largo all day long. So
it's a great stick. Back on the Sober Mesa, the short Churchill that he did, it is amped up, but he also came out with a regular Churchill, and that is also amped up.
The Cedro.
The cedar wrapper. That one I did like that one probably the best so far in the Sober Mesa line, to be honest with you. Yeah.
So one of my personal critiques is you've got a line, so now you've up to 8 facings, right? And so you've got these flavor profiles, and then the 2 Churchills are amped up above the other 6. So if people aren't aware of that, I think that's where the shop's got to come in and help educate the consumers, right? Yep. Because if you come in and say, hey, I love the El Americano, it's dialed back on the lighter side of medium, love the cinnamon sweet note that comes off of it. If someone reaches over and says, oh, I'll just grab the short Churchill because it's a smaller version of that, they're not going to be happy, right? I won't say they won't be happy, but it's a totally different flavor profile.
But I will say, I see where he was going for, what he was trying to do.
Oh, absolutely.
So rather than introduce another size, all right, go back and come out with Sober Mesa, see if you can get it to where maybe you could capture some of the people you were looking to capture.
Yep.
So there's something for both. Now, I'm not knocking the other sizes. Like I said, I love that Cervantes Fino. I'm coming really around on the El Americano. I love the Bellicoso he did too.
Yeah.
Of that. I did that short Churchill was something I kept wanting to go back and smoke that cigar. Usually I'll smoke when I smoke 3 cigars in a day of the same one, I really like it. And that one I did smoke 3 in a day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Rounding up my Padron reviewing, I smoked one during this segment, and we did the new Bellicoso. This is the 1964 anniversary series Hermoso. I smoked this in the natural and Maduro, and I smoked 2 of each in the natural and Maduro to figure out which one I liked better. I did smoke 1 of each natural Maduro of the 4x54 ring gauge, which came out originally, which was a direct to retailer release. The regular production size is a 4x56 format. To me, not quite that 4x54. There was just something magical about that one, and you can go listen and read my previous reviews on that. But the regular production release is a 4x56 format, and the production release, the natural has more spice. Really pops on the retrohale. The Maduro in this size is really the clear winner for me. The Maduro is everything that you would expect from a Maduro release in the 64 anniversary series from Padron. It has that chocolatey sweetness. It is just yummy all the way around. The natural for me is a $5. The Maduro for me is a box worthy. Again, I smoked 2 of each for this review. I wanted to really like the natural because the natural in the 90th is tending to be my favorite. The natural in the Bellicoso is my favorite. When you get to the short Robusto in the 56 ring gauge format, the Maduro just worked better in this blend. I mean, the Maduro was unbelievable. It was just the chocolatey richness and sweetness really came to life. And the natural had that spice, but I thought lacked in that kind of sweetness department. Maybe needs a little more time, I'm not sure. But in smoking, 2 of each of these cigars, Maduro, clear winner for me in the Hermoso size.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll let you go. But Stace is the guy actually who got us those original 4x54s. They may have been 52s, but he uncovered those. Like they came into his shop, and
Those were awesome.
And they were magical. I agree. I'm going to let you talk about this.
I was just going to say that I totally agree with you, Paul, on the production release of the Hermoso. For me, the Maduro is absolutely where it's at.
Yeah.
A little nugget, though, on when Padron was sending out the Hermoso pre-releases. They sent different sizes to different areas of the country. So the ones that we got in North Carolina, they weren't even a 54. What they were, the ones that we got at our shop, they were the ring gauge of a Principe. They were the length of a Padron 1926 number 35. So they were very short. It was like a 4 it was smaller than 54.
They were calling it 54 in a fish, but I think they were actually smaller, Paul. I think you're right.
Yeah.
And because they were like those exclusivos, but just shorter.
Well, smaller, like the Principes, right? But the thing was, because I went out and measured them. So, and then I didn't understand when the Hermoso production line came out, it was much bigger. And then what I found out was, Padron was sending out different Hermoso sizes to different areas. And then they ended up on what we got, which was the 4x56.
Yep. Yeah, and I have a few, like I said, I think I get what they were trying to do with their profile, with their line. They wanted to have, I hate using the nub word, but they wanted that short, fat stick, which they didn't have in there. I kind of wish they would have kept the size we smoked, Paul, originally. Those are the ones I sent you.
Yeah.
Because that was just magic. And I
tell you what, though, of what's been released, right? And I've smoked the 90th Tubo for the price that it is in Natural Maduro, the Bellicoso, the Hermoso and the Natural Maduro, and I've gone back and I've smoked some Principes in the Natural. I smoked a Imperial with like 3 or 4 years of age, which, thank you, Paul Joyle, was a gift from Mr. Joseph on a smoke shop.
Nice.
I have to say that the Maduro in this Hermoso size might be my favorite. If I'm going to put an investment into what's come out lately in Padron and like where I'm going to put my money, I may just go buy that Maduro in the Hermoso size. I thought it was the best smoking one out of all of them for the price, right? Like, obviously, I can go buy these 90 Tubos all day long, but I might go broke. But for the price, this Hermoso and the Maduro is just a fantastic smoking experience. It's everything you want to experience in a Padron at a much lower price point than even the Bellicoso, than obviously any of the family reserves or the special ones in the tubes. So it really kind of gets my choice. It's kind of my smoke of the week, smoke in the past couple of weeks. Like, it really just embodies everything that you want to get out of a Padron. I don't know what the price point is, but I got to imagine it's much cheaper than some of the other larger sizes and other special editions from Padron. So
I think they're in the I don't think they're all that cheap. They're still in the $12 to $14 range, I want to say.
Yeah, but even in that shorter size, though, there's a lot of smoking time in there, and I would still say that Maduro and the Hermoso would be my pick. If you're going to go try one of these new Padrones, go smoke that one. That's just my opinion. You know, I think a lot of people kind of purchase based on what we recommend. We're all saying this is a great cigar. We're all kind of agreeing on the Maduro and this Hermoso size as well. Yeah. I think that's where you put your money if you're going to go make a holiday purchase. $12 for this size is a good price point, but I think you're going to get the most for your money, in my opinion, with the 64 Hermoso in the Maduro.
Agree.
So go do that and send us some.
Yep.
That's all I had for now. I smoked a lot of different stuff. I tell you what, I smoked a lot of, and we'll review more before the end of the year, but I did smoke a lot of the Davidoff Yamasa. I don't know if I've officially reviewed the Robusto in that size. I think I have. That one is off the charts good in the Yamasa from Davidoff. Expensive stick. That one sticks out in my mind. I did smoke one of those as well.
You just lit up a Toro, actually.
Yeah, smoked the Yamasa Toro.
Well, we were talking, yeah.
Nice smoke. Real nice, unique flavor profile.
Yeah.
Davidoff does something that I think other people have a hard time doing, and that is when they come out with a line, it's uniquely Henke. You get Henke's flavor profile, but it's also different. There's not a Davidoff that smokes like another Davidoff. And when they came out with the Yamasa, it's just got a unique flavor profile that's not like any of the others.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, Stace and Will, obviously, thanks for weighing in on this edition of the Stogie Geeks. Participating in this show, thanks to our special guest, Omar.
Thanks for manning the chat room, Stace, too, by the way.
Yeah,
thanks
thank
for
you very
letting me
much. It was awesome. A lot of fun. Thanks, everyone, for listening and watching, and we'll see everyone next week on the Stogie Geek Show.